Let's bring in two of the senators behind the proposal. That is Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley. He's a sponsor of the Ethics Act, and Republican Senator Josh Hawley, who says bipartisanship is dead. Senators, I love that you both came on. Senator Merkley, first to you. I guess my question would be, what took so long on something that I think almost every American would agree with?
You're absolutely right, and that 85% plus of Democrats and Republicans in a poll last year said we should be banning stock trading. It's been now 12 years I've been on this mission. It took so long because most members like to retain this privilege despite the fact that it's a very corrupt practice. It's corrupt because they benefit from advantageous information here on Capitol Hill. They do better than a general stock portfolio. And it's particularly corrupt because people are thinking about their portfolio when they're writing legislation or voting on bills. The bottom line, they should be serving the people, not their portfolio.
Senator Hawley, let's talk about one aspect of it, which is blind trust, because as Senator Merkley just said, I think most Americans would get behind this. I did my own little X poll. 91% of people who responded, now it is the CNBC audience, said, yeah, this should be banned. But why the blind trust? Do you worry at all that this will keep successful business people, people who are already rich, from running for office if they can't even have a blind trust?
Not really. I mean, listen, the reason to get rid of the blind trust is everybody knows that it is a giant loophole. Nobody really thinks that the blind trust is blind. You can probably run that same poll on X or go to the grocery store or go to the barbershop. Ask people, do you think when politicians put stuff in blind trust that they're really giving away control? And of course, people say, no, they're not. That's just a loophole. We are closing the loopholes. That's what's significant about this bill. It's a tough bill. Real penalties, real closure of loopholes, and it's going to get a vote the first time that a Senate committee will vote on this legislation ever, and it's going to happen this month.
You know, Senator Hawley, I'll go back to you because we've got, and it's a bipartisan issue. It's a bipartisan problem because both parties, we've had members, many of whom have been on the show, and we welcome them back anytime to talk about it, respect to all, because it is not illegal, are trading, in some cases, a lot, Senator Hawley, thousands of trades a year in some cases. How do they have the time for this?
You know, that's the thing. I mean, what are members of Congress doing? I mean, are they up here day trading rather than doing their jobs? I mean, take the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is the poster child for this. Her portfolio increased in value, I think, by 50% last year. Cumulatively, members traded almost $800 million in securities over the last couple of years. Republicans absolutely do it, too. It's ridiculous. Nobody should be doing it. Everybody should be focused on doing the job their constituents sent them to do, and that is not to increase the value of their stock portfolio.
Yeah, I want to point that out. You know, Senator Merkley, Senator Hawley's right. It's both parties. You've got senators from and representatives from Texas and Tennessee. I don't think this is a red or blue issue. As we've said, I think it's a green issue. Do you worry, though, that there is the insider element, Senator Merkley? Because some of these trades are so timed so perfectly, it would make the greatest hedge fund in the world blush.
Well, think about the fact that when we had the initial information about COVID, there was a briefing about how bad things were before the public was informed, and a group of senators proceeded to trade stocks at that moment based on that information. Now, technically, were they arrested for insider trading? No, that's extremely hard to establish. But yet again, this is far more effective. Insider trading is very difficult to prove, but we have confidential information coming our way every single day. So again, we should not be in the business of trading stocks. Trading stocks while you're writing legislation is wrong. Trading stocks while you're voting on legislation wrong. Trading stocks on this advanced information we benefit from is wrong. It's all wrong. Let's end it.
Okay, well, I know we've got next steps. It seems like a no-brainer layup that this will pass, but who knows? We'll find out. Both senators, I need to also go to a more serious topic, at least in the short term. You talk about trading. Senator Merkley, is it maybe time for the Democrats to trade nominees? Just moments ago, you may not have even seen it, Axios reporting, citing 3 different sources, that now Leader Schumer is open to dumping Biden in 2024. Do you believe that Joe Biden should be the nominee?
Well, let's recognize that the control of this is in Joe Biden's hands. And my argument has been, look, we are on a train right now, a campaign train that is approaching a chasm with a damaged bridge. You either got to repair the bridge so the campaign can go forward, or you have to stop the train. That decision is going west with President Biden, and I'm encouraging him to make the decision that's best for America.
Yeah, and Senator Merkley, I'll go back to you on this one as well, because it does feel like the momentum is moving. The president loves to talk about democracy and how Trump may be a threat to democracy. 72% of people polled, take it from me, I understand what people think about polls, I get it, think that he is not fit to serve. If you don't listen to the will of millions of people of your own party, what would we call that?
Well, we are certainly in a situation where there's very serious concerns or legitimate concerns, and it needs to have a serious conversation to address it. And from the moment of that debate started, I've been getting text messages from folks every single day saying, take this issue seriously. The future of our country depends on getting this right. Yeah,
and Senator Hawley, listen, obviously you're a Republican. I get it. But and whether or not you agree with any of Biden's policies, the man has served in office since 1972, with the exception of a small gap there before rerunning for president. Can we all agree that whatever your political party and persuasion or feelings about President Biden may be, this is an incredibly serious time for America? I don't mean the election in November. I mean right now. And it feels like if all of this stuff kind of comes out the way it feels like it might, this is Watergate type stuff that we're talking about.
No, you're absolutely right about that. I mean, listen, the election's important, but let's talk about the security of the country. This is a guy who has the nuclear codes. And listen, we have been lied to. I mean, that's just the truth of it. You look at what the White House has said, and you look at what the White House has represented about his health, it's plainly not true. We can all see that now. And it's time for them to level with the American people about the president's true condition. And frankly, I just say to my Democrat friends, it's time to think about the 25th Amendment. I mean, you've got to save this country here. I mean, this guy is not able to be president of the United States, clearly. And
but Senator Hawley, listen, if you go down that path, it's just going to create more partisan fighting when we need to be thinking about, to your point, the safety and security of the United States right now, do we not? And then that would just create all this other noise at a time when we should be squarely focused on one thing, I think.
Well, listen, if you're talking about the 25th Amendment, the only people who can do it are the members of Biden's cabinet. I mean, so this is really a decision for the Democrats to make. I mean, this is their decision. It's really on their hands. This is their president, the leader of their party. You pointed out a second ago, primary voters chose him to be their nominee. So I don't know how they get rid of him. I mean, their own voters have chosen him to lead the party into November. The only option they have is to invoke the 25th Amendment, and they have to do it. Nobody can do it but the Biden cabinet. So I just hope that they keep the interests of the country in mind here. I mean, elections are important, sure, but the most important thing is the safety and security of this nation. Yeah. And clearly, we are being led by a man who is not up to the job, and that's not something to celebrate at all. It's a sad and painful fact.
And I'll leave it with you, Senator Merkley, because I've been hearing from a lot of people that are on both sides, by the way, which is the way I want it. Some of them texting me, calling me with real concerns about down ballot races, local races, Senate races, House races, and that the polls we don't see that are not public polls, ones that are sort of commissioned or paid for, that you probably get, Senators Merkley and Hawley, that those are showing real worries about Democrat down ballot candidates. Is that a concern of yours, Senator Merkley?
You know, now, listen, the point that's important to make after my colleague, and I'm glad to work with Senator Hawley on stock trading, but we certainly disagree about this, and that is that Biden has been the best post-war president we've had. We've done an enormous amount for infrastructure, for renewable energy. We kept the economy rebounding after COVID, adding 200,000 plus jobs every single month. The man is very fit at this moment to continue his presidency, and he has a superb superb, incredible team. The party that should be worried about the judgments of their nominee is the Republican Party, because Trump has already established how he uncorked the bottle of hate. He pandered to Putin. He undermined NATO, if we're talking about security. And he basically drained the Treasury to do tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans and the biggest corporations. Let's keep this in perspective.